Hey yo, I'm Jerry,
and I'm Ed, and this
is What-You-Think, the podcast. The show where we talk about topics that we find interesting.
And deliver insight to you about those things. And today, the topic is essentially a general awareness against everyday corruption. So we'll start it off light, I guess. Jerry, going over to you. What do you think are some of the ways the world are bringing down people today, the man and the woman?
So, yeah, that's a very good question. Now, how I think the society is bringing down the men and women is, I'll say number one, a big factor would be is the emasculation of men. The emasculation of men, and they're emasculating men by making men weaker. And nowadays, in this current society, they're labeling masculinity, true masculinity, as toxic masculinity, which means that they're demonizing masculinity. So toxic masculinity just pretty much demonizing masculinity by labeling it toxic masculinity. So for example,
go on. What are some of the ways you?
So for example, let's say a man does something that demonstrates courage, that demonstrates masculinity, and then all of a sudden, let's say by standing up to someone, and in a certain situation, that gets labeled as boom, toxic masculinity.
I guess that's true. Yeah. Okay, so there are some, I guess, forms of toxic masculinity, though. I guess there are some stages where aggression doesn't lead to the best outcome, but I can agree with you there that more often than not, it is the case that what a man does, how a man feels, the way that we go about things has a tendency to be overlooked in today's age of political correctness, I guess. Like, we're not really... I guess we're more of a direct kind of people. And so the way that people tit-tat and meander nowadays does tend to get, I guess, demonized, like you said. It is demonized in the way that, our approach. Can you think of any examples of toxic femininity?
That's a tough question because we are not women. No. We're not women. We're just gonna say that straight off the bat. And with toxic femininity is kind of like toxic masculinity, whereas being a real woman is demonized as well. So, for example, she wants to, let's say, get married and kick back and raise kids. And nowadays in this society, like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that before, funnily enough, because it's like, like he said, we're not women.
We can't really talk much about that topic.
That perspective, but I can say that it's almost, it seems to me nowadays that it's more often than not the case that it's like raising your kids at home as a housewife is considered, I wouldn't say a waste, but people view it as like, oh, well, you're sacrificing your career. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's just, I guess it is an interesting, viewpoint in that aspect. But I guess toxic masculinity, the way that it's being portrayed now, I feel as though toxic femininity is more of an issue. Personally, I think. Like, and a man can be toxically feminine as well.
1,000%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it works both ways.
Exactly. It works both ways, just like a woman can have toxic masculinity too.
1,000%. It doesn't just apply just to men, it doesn't apply just to women, it's vice versa.
Quite literally. And so, I think the roles get applied too much to just one sex. So, I think toxic masculinity is always really just on men. When women can be overly toxically masculine as well, that's where you get like your Karen from. The Karen type build, the one that's running through a store, asking for the manager and yelling and screaming.
Yeah. and raises tantrums.
That level of possession is toxic masculinity too. And so there's, I guess there's a bit of a stigma attached in that
100%.
that aspect. But I guess what other ways can we think of that the man is being brought down today? And when I say the man, I don't mean men. I mean
like mankind.
Mankind, yes,
Yeah.
people in general. And so pretty much. What can you think of anything else? Like, you thinking any other things?
Any other things?
What you think?
Yeah. So what I think about this is, I'd say it's weakening, dehumanizing people to an extent where it's not okay for a man to be a man in this society. This is not encouraged. Whereas back then it was encouraged, but now it's getting weakened to the point where it's not easy for a man to stand up and be a real man. And same deal for women in the society. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not as easy for them to be themselves.
I see that they're kind of blending the roles a bit.
Yeah, they're swapping the roles.
Yeah, swapping the roles is the big one. That's reversal, inversion. But I guess that's another topic for another day. That can go very deep. But I think what you were saying perfectly, just at the start there, was perfect. How you said dehumanization. I think that's a big thing that's going on nowadays, and people don't really
100%.
notice it. Like how much AI is used nowadays. How much
that's big right now.
How much I guess robotics in general taking over jobs, but that's understood. I was more talking about dehumanization of ourselves. You know, people fucking with cyborgery and shit. There's
the kind of stuff they see in movies and cartoons. They're slowly bringing it to life, to real life.
literally.
Right now.
They're using that as predictive programming is what they call it, where it's essentially it's planting a seed in your brain that tells you that something is possible, plausible, a part of a world. And once it's a part of a world, it can be a part of your world.
It could be like the metaverse.
And
like
exactly. The metaverse is, I mean, that's a whole nother kettle of fish. That's almost like creating a digital, it is creating a digital universe, you know what I mean? And that's almost like as above, so below, like world within worlds type things. You know, that's like another form of the Matrix, you know what I mean? But like a more heavily vested version of it. I guess, you know, people already say that is the Matrix, but we are sort of already living in that aspect already.
1,000%.
And so it's just, inside the box is just another box. But yeah, I guess the way that they're getting around to doing that is, it's causing our world to move in one direction.
What was once normal is not normal now, or what was not normal is normal now.
Exactly, and it's dehuman. That's
It's
when
dehuman.
you said that really sparked something in me, because it is dehumanizing people on all ways and fronts. Like you said, feminizing men, and I guess emasculating the woman.
Or masculinizing women.
Yeah, masculinizing women. My bad. What that's doing is essentially bringing us both into one flat level playing field, and it means that we don't have roles for things anymore, right? And I can understand women's, I guess, fret about this topic, because it is a heavily control-based factor, because the way that men really got to power is by control, you know, in the wrong ways. In the wrong ways.
Control.
By overpowering the woman and asserting dominance over her, when it's really should be reciprocal.
A certain dominance, period.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, men are more dominant, but it doesn't mean that you can use your dominance over women.
That's
you know what I mean?
It's domineering.
And so, I think what they're doing is they're bringing this to a level where, like I said, there's no roles. and so women are no longer looked at as childbearers,
Mm.
and men are looked at as less, I guess, important due to what standards were back in the, I guess, you know, like I said, I'm not defending that sort of time, but men were always traditionally looked at as people like providing the bread and you know, hunter-gatherer types.
They were in charge.
They were the ones who were risking themselves to provide for the family, right? That's no longer really a thing, so males don't really have to sacrifice themselves anymore, and they're not becoming men by doing that. You know what I mean?
100%.
And through that, women are emasculating, and so it's coming to an age where it can really be dehumanized in a lot of ways. With the technology that we have, it can be really reversed to the stage, like, you know, incubator babies and stuff like that. Anyway, so what do you think are some of the ways that we are being dehumanized in society, in the world, I guess, we live in today?
One of the ways that we are being dehumanized in the world as a society today is simply because people are becoming losing their moral compass. The morality is being lost. Morale is being lost, and a great contributor to morale being lost is God being taken out of society. That means that people have a license to kill, license to the right to do whatever we want, and there's no reason for us not to do it.
Yeah, and every reason to, I guess, you know, to get ahead. In the world today. Yeah, no, I feel that. So, like, you know, I guess there's no real repercussions of lying or cheating or stealing. You know, if you have no, I guess, comprehension of any higher power or anything that's, I guess, looking down any sort of karmic cycle or anything like that. If you have no foundation in that whatsoever, what's keeping you from becoming a bad person, I guess, essentially?
I guess, yeah, because to them, because a lot of people, it's easier to be in between or to be a criminal than it is to be a good person nowadays.
Yeah, I guess.
Because let's say if someone were to rob a store, they'll just watch. They won't do nothing about it. They won't even call the cops. They'll just expect the cops to get called, which will be common practice nowadays. Or if someone worse would happen, let's say someone is dying in the street, someone got shot, or let's say someone got shot and no one does nothing about it. They just walk about their business.
That's actually pretty true, isn't it? Like, I mean, where we live right now, that's not happening, I guess, to that level. But to some standards in certain, I guess, areas of the world, it is normal for shit like that to happen.
100%.
Totally normal. And, I mean, yeah, I guess really then there's the good, the bad, and the normal, isn't there?
1,000%, the yin yang.
Yeah. It's, I guess that's very good, I guess, insight. Because I guess there's different standards. I get that's what I'm kind of getting at around the world of what is common. And I guess what we see as commonplace is in some ways taken for granted. In some aspects, in I guess the life that we lead, you know, we have some things that we take for granted, but in other places it's taken as, you know, part of the reality that they face, I guess.
Yeah, you're right.
You know? Like, I mean, we can't really speak for, you know, people in those situations, but I guess it does come to a point where it's what is normal. You kind of have to stand up for what's real, what you feel is real. And I guess that's the hero archetype, I guess, is the person blazing a new trail of creating those rules, I guess. You know what I mean? Not necessarily creating them, but identifying the problem and seeking a solution.
100%. I mean,
that's probably the most human thing there is.
People were more human back then, at least 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 plus years ago, than we are right now.
Yeah.
As time goes by, people are becoming less and less human, dehumanized, demoralized.
I think part of that is through human connection as well.
Yeah, human connection.
That, social media is increasing our connection in the world, but I don't...
It's not making us human.
Like, I can almost guarantee... So I've got, a few neighbours that I've known my whole life, right? But for the ones that have come in more recently, I haven't spoken a word to them, you know what I mean? And it's like...
social
how
contact.
many people nowadays know their neighbours?
That's a valid question, but social contact. We're social beings, and for us, being less social, literally being less social, we're becoming less human. We're becoming dehumanized in that regard. As time has went by, people have cared less and less about one another. Like, know what I mean? Like, it's getting. Back then would be more common for us to be friendlier with other people, friendly with strangers. But nowadays, we're getting used to people not really caring.
Yeah, that's true. I guess so.
Yeah, everyone's in their lane. So especially the neighbor scenario that you brought up. That was a very valid point. Where nowadays we don't really know who our neighbor is, because everyone's in their own lane.
And like you said, we don't really care to know. No one cares.
1,000%.
It's not like you could be living next to some sort of... Who knows who you're living next to, man? Like, if you don't know, then you don't know.
100%.
And so, it really is something that is... It was keyed in the world back then. Like, I remember... I don't know, I'm not sure where I read it, but it was just a couple of comment exchanges between two people. Someone asking what it was like back in the day, and before cell phones and anything like that. And it's like, if you were passing someone in the street, you didn't have anything to distract you from that person, from what
that
you were
person,
doing.
like about to cross your path. You make eye contact or look to the side.
Yeah, but nowadays it's like, you're looking down at your phone or something. You can just, because our little worlds are so large.
Big.
In scope to back then, when our little worlds were small and the big world was large. And it's like nowadays those two are blending more.
Reverse.
It's like you can be more aware of what's going on in a sport league in America than you can that's going on in your local council. You know what I mean?
100%.
Like, and more people are probably more aware of it anyway. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's showing that, like, through technology, I guess we've got this large information bubble, and we're increasing our little information bubbles.
Yeah.
But it's I guess pulling us away from our actual world. Our actual interactive world.
The present world, the real world that we stand in right now.
Yeah, the people that you see probably every day that you don't notice.
Or
that if you made a name to that face, you would notice all the time.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, the person walking by. What about public transport?
Yeah,
No one interacts with each other in public transport. They either reading the newspaper or reading a book or just looking outside, which is pretty common practice nowadays on public transport, or on their cell phones.
Always on their phones.
Or always on the phones. The only time when there's social interaction on public transport, at least when I'm on public transport, is someone sitting there, or can I be sit there, or
can I get past?
Can I get past? Or excuse me. Hold on, ma'am. Here, take my. You can take my spot. Excuse me. Sorry, sir. You can have my spot. Which is common courtesy. It was common courtesy nowadays, or should I say common practice?
common courtesy is not that common. Just like common sense is not that common.
That's right.
As like these things that used to be normal, common, taken for granted. Like we were saying, good, the bad, and the normal.
Social interaction, we take that for granted.
It's not common nowadays, and it's something that's extraordinary. Like, I mean, even just like general politeness, a lot of the time people are like quite taken aback when you're, genuinely polite.
Yeah, I'm like, whoa, this dude's so polite, as if it's uncommon.
As if it's like, oh, that's something
weird.
new or something extraordinary. It's like, but yeah, I guess it all has a time and a place. But yeah, nowadays like you can hold the door open for someone, and
as if they've never seen it before in their life.
Getting legal action taken against them for holding the door open for a woman.
What kind of world are we living in right now? That's absurd.
That's the type of world that we're facing in terms of, that's what we're talking about, like political correctness and like what is taken for granted, I guess, in the sense that that's just two humans interacting. Like you don't have to look at that in a gender base in any way, shape or form. And things can still be taken and blown out of proportion and this and that done and extra,
exactly.
repercussions taken against that. And is that normal? Is that normal? Being taken for into court for doing a normal gesture? Okay, yeah, so I guess it's just different perspectives anyway. But no, thank you for joining us today. We do have to wrap it up. It is a work in progress, so bear with us. We are getting better as we go. But each day iron sharpens iron, so we'll get to a stage where I'm sure we'll have a bit more interaction with our guests. But yeah, thank you again. And Jerry, you want to sign up?
Yeah, so thank you very much for watching this very first episode of the podcast. We're very excited for us in tune. So thanks a lot for watching.